So let's get right into it. Nepal is sitting on what you might call an unexpected gold mine. But you're not going to find it buried deep under the Himalayas. No, it's rolling through the streets of Kathmandu every single day. We're talking about a full-on revolution on wheels. But the real story here isn't just about the cars. It's about what happens when their batteries eventually die, and how that so-called trash could actually become a billion-dollar national treasure through a process called urban mining.
And if you want to understand just how big this is, look at this number. In one single year, imports of electric cars, Jeeps, and vans shot up by a jaw-dropping 189%. That's worth over 23 billion Nepali rupees. Believe me, this is not a slow transition. It's an electric explosion that's changing the country's landscape practically overnight.
And this, right here, really tells the whole story. You've got the timeless, stunning beauty of Nepal right next to this wave of new technology. So today, we're going to explore what happens when this ancient landscape meets a very electric future, and how it's creating both a massive challenge and, an absolutely incredible opportunity. So how in the world did this happen so fast? Well, let's break down what's really driving Nepal's electric dream. And I'll tell you, it was no accident. It was a strategic choice, really, born from both economic necessity and a huge natural advantage.
The biggest driver? It's all about the money. Nepal was spending over 292 billion rupees every single year on imported fossil fuels. That is a massive drain on the economy. But with all of its domestic hydropower, switching to EVs wasn't just some green choice, it was a common-sense way to power the country with its own clean resources. And the government's ambition here is just huge. They've set these incredibly bold targets, aiming for the vast majority of new private cars to be electric by 2030. A policy like that sends a massive, clear signal to the market. The future of transport in Nepal is electric, period. Check out this timeline. It really shows you just how fast this is all happening. It goes from just a handful in 2020 to over 75,000 on the road today. That's exponential growth. But look at that 2030 number. We're not just forecasting more cars, we're forecasting over 1,000 tons of battery waste. And that, right there, brings us to the hidden side of this revolution.
Every green revolution casts a shadow, and for electric vehicles, that shadow is the battery. We're basically trading tailpipe emissions for what could become a giant mountain of hazardous waste. And without a solid plan, this lithium time bomb is ticking.
And listen to this from environmental expert Bhusan Tuladar. He basically gives us a deadline. We've got about a decade before that first massive wave of EV batteries starts to die. And like he says, the problem will arrive suddenly and at scale. This isn't some far-off theoretical issue, it's on a countdown.
So what's actually inside these things? Well, we're talking about a literal cocktail of toxic and reactive materials. If these batteries just end up in a landfill, they can leak all that nasty stuff into the soil and groundwater. And that contaminates the very watersheds that feed our agriculture and give us our drinking water.
And here is the really crucial point. Despite this insane EV boom, there is no national law, no formal system for managing this waste. The policy just hasn't caught up with the technology. Right now, most e-waste gets handled by an informal sector, which is creating a health crisis that actually costs Nepal nearly 5% of its annual GDP.
But what if this crisis is actually an opportunity in disguise, a massive economic one? And this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn, from what looks like a waste problem to what could become a whole new industry.
So this is the big question we have to ask, right? Is a dead battery just a piece of hazardous trash that you bury and forget about? Or is it a dense reserve of super valuable materials just waiting to be unlocked?
The answer lies in this amazing concept, urban mining. It means instead of digging deep into the earth for new materials, we extract them from the products we've already used. Our cities, filled with old electronics and now EV batteries, literally become the new mines.
And hey, this isn't just some cool idea. The numbers totally back it up. A recent study laid out a crystal clear business case for a battery recycling plant right here in Nepal. With about a $6.6 million investment, the analysis shows you get your money back in just under 3 years, and it projects an incredible 22% rate of return. It's not just good for the environment, it's seriously profitable.
The study even found the best tool for the job. This chart here shows that a method called direct recycling gives you the highest material recovery rate. It's way more efficient because it actually preserves the battery's valuable cathode structure, unlike other methods that just melt everything down into a lump. That means less energy, a lower environmental impact, and get this, it saves an estimated 15 tons of CO2 for every single ton of battery recycled.
But what's really fascinating is that recycling isn't even the only option. See, when an EV battery's capacity drops to about 80%, it's not really ideal for a car anymore, but it is far from useless. It's ready for what we call a second life.
These retired batteries can be repurposed for all kinds of critical energy storage needs. I mean, think about it. They could be used to power rural communities with solar, provide reliable backup power for hospitals, or even help manage the seasonal ups and downs of Nepal's own hydropower grid. The potential here is just immense.
So, with all this incredible potential, what's holding everything back? Well, industry leaders like Sahil Shrestha all point to one thing: policy uncertainty. Businesses are ready to invest, they want to invest, but they can't do it alone. They need clear, stable rules of the road from the government to build this entire recycling and reuse ecosystem. A huge part of the solution is a policy called Extended Producer Responsibility, or EPR. It's actually a pretty simple but really powerful idea. The company that imports or makes the product is responsible for it at the end of its life. This shifts the burden of waste management from the public to the producer, which creates a powerful incentive for a circular economy. Makes sense, right?
So the path forward is pretty clear. Nepal is at a crossroads, really, with all the pieces in place to turn its EV boom into a sustainable, long-term success story.
Here's the roadmap. First, we need stable government policy. That gives investors the confidence they need. Second, we have to build the infrastructure, formal, safe facilities, but at a national scale. This not only solves a huge waste problem, but also creates a domestic supply of raw materials. And third, we have to foster a public mindset that sees waste not as garbage, but as a resource. And in the end, it all comes down to this one choice. Will the batteries powering Nepal's clean transport revolution become a ticking toxic bomb on our landfills? Or will the country seize the opportunity to mine this billion-dollar trash and build a truly circular, prosperous economy? The decisions made right now will define Nepal's electric future.